Alright, hello. So welcome to the Any Percent tutorial for Minoria. Some people have been struggling with bosses in the community, so I was going to make a video, but I decided, hey, what if somebody new wants to learn this game? Or what if somebody's confused about routes? So I'm going to make just a full-on tutorial that's going to detail basically everything about where to go to try and make learning this game, or this run, as easy as possible. So to begin, the timer starts when you select your brightness level, so just like there. And then you have two cutscenes that you need to skip. My pause key is enter, and I think whatever your pause button is usually bound to is what your skip cutscene button is. Just make sure to mash that. If that doesn't work, just try mashing enter. And then you get into gameplay. So there's dodge rolling in this game, and it's the fastest form of movement immediately, so you want to do that everywhere. And at the start, everywhere is to the left. So this item up there is the blood incense, and you're supposed to get that after you finish the third area of the game, the Mercy Cellar. However, with a well-positioned bounce off of this trampoline, you could actually get up there basically at the beginning of the game and pick it up immediately. And then you can equip it. And that is a 25% damage increase. However, to get that damage increase, it eats up 20% of your max HP. So if I'm at 300 HP right now is my max HP. Every time I use it, I'm going to be taking 60 damage. And that's kind of dangerous, not in terms of actually having damage, because you want to do a lot of fights damageless in this game. However, since you want to do a lot of fights damageless, if you use it within a boss fight, you do not get the item for beating that boss damageless. And those items are usually pretty dang good. So you can take that save point if you want, just in case you mess that up. Usually the first boss isn't difficult, so like that save point's not needed, like some of the other ones might be. But at a certain point in this room, you're going to get into the first boss fight of the game, which is Blossoming Witch Lizette. Lizette's a pretty easy boss. All of her telegraphs are based on the movements of her staff, so you have to be really mindful of what she does with that thing, because it's the only thing that's going to tell you how to react to her moves. Once you see the text box, she's going to do this attack, and this attack is the point where you can really go in for a bunch of damage as soon as it stops covering her, like, directly. And you get the Frigid Incense for beating her without taking damage. And that is a really good item. It adds an ice effect to your attacks, so it's damage that will add up over the course of some of these boss fights and just make them a lot quicker. So now we've saved Princess Amelia, and we can start rolling back over to the right. And now our goal is to get to the library, which is just this way. On the way to the library, we're going to be picking up another incense just over here. So what you need to do is roll all the way down this set of platforms, grab the white incense, equip both the white and the frigid incense at this point in the game, and die. So I don't know how I was that low on health that quickly there, but whatever. And that's something that's important is, as you can see, I do have a healing incense. Momodora games do not usually give you a healing incense, or like a healing item for free. Usually you have to go out of your way. So the fact that you have one to use in this run, you really do need to take that for granted and take advantage of it, because it is easy to die in this game. The enemies do a lot of damage considering they're just normal enemies. So yeah, you get the white incense, you equip both of the two that you have to equip, and then you move up this elevator. The white incense is a projectile that you're not really going to use in fights. However, the high capacity of it is going to be very important for something that's going to be brought up later in the run regarding a major skip. So we'll get to that one when it comes to. So now we've made it to the library. You might recall, if you're playing this game on Steam and you have Momodora 3 or 4 on Steam, that there are these special swords in the library. These are banned within the game. You're not allowed to grab these unless you're doing, or to use these unless you're doing a New Game Plus run. So don't do that. even though one of them is really good, don't do that. Just move out of the library as soon as you enter it, and get on your way to the Cathedral Key is the next major stop. The Cathedral Key is just right down here. You're going to get to a very long room once you roll through this mess. So yeah, there's the Cathedral Key. Once you get it, you actually don't want to go in that door at the bottom, because there's a fight arena in that door that takes a while. So instead, you want to go across the top. There's this secret passage here. And then once you go through the secret passage, you'll make it back to the library. And it's just a faster way of getting to where you need to go instead of going in that bottom path. So you roll through this screen. Going downstairs, rolling downstairs, you can end up parrying a lot, and as you can see, that parry animation is pretty long. So, and it makes you stand still. Unless you jump, you might notice I've been doing that sometimes. I've been jumping and parrying at the same time. That's called a parry jump, and it gets you slightly more height, which can be pretty useful in some cases. So, like here, I can jump here. Okay, nope, I hit the ceiling. Like here, I can jump, and then here I can parry jump. And you can notice the slight increase in height. And if you don't notice it, just trust me, I guess. This room is definitely scary because it's pretty easy to get silenced in here, just like that. And now I don't have my healing incenses throughout the whole room. So it's not a bad idea to take this room safely if you want to, if you're worried about dying and getting silenced. Hopefully you just won't get silenced, though. That's really... You really have to be careful with how you move in that room. But now you can use this elevator by hitting that switch that we hit. And this is the elevator that leads to Sister Devoir, which is our next boss fight. If you want to take the save point that's coming up on the next screen, it's just right down here. If you want to take this save point, you can go for it. As you can see, you only lose like a second or two for going for it. There's a lot of places where you can go for safety if you want, and regarding the difficulty of this game, I definitely would recommend going for safety at times. So this is the giant Bachman mini-boss. And he's pretty big, however, he's not very fast, and he's not very difficult, and he dies pretty quickly because we have the blood incense. So, not too much of a struggle as long as you know how to really just dodge. So now you can go up here and get this save point. I definitely recommend this save point. And then in this room, you want to stop rolling for a little bit and run to the left for like half a second, so that way you can roll through all the enemies and not get damaged twice, because the damage animation is long. And then you get into the fight with Sister Devoir. You want to make sure you use your blood essence, like as soon as you get in that room, basically. She always starts by doing the same move, but then it's kind of random what she'll do after that. So I like to do a strategy of what I call, if you see her move her sword, just like kind of run away from her. As you see, there's contact damage on her, so if you like walk into her, she can damage you. However, when she can't damage you is if she does a magic spell while you're behind her, unless she does her like explosion like spell. So if you see her prepping a more magic-based spell, you can try and sneak behind her, but really running away is safe when you see her sword move. And as you can see, sometimes this game likes to this game kind of has a very weird stigma on inputs. So you kind of have to get used to the fact that sometimes the game will it can be kind of difficult to cancel a combo if you combo and then realize, hey, wait, I'm gonna die. And that makes Devoir really tricky because if you slip up on her telegraphs once, she won't show any mercy, unlike a boss like some other ones where you can kind of still get around a bad situation. You can use White Incense if you want here when she does that attack. And eventually she'll get into this part of the fight where she'll start stumbling when her thing drops. And when that happens, you literally just, you don't press anything, you just mash your attack button, and you got the fight down. And you get the Claremont, which is a very good attacking weapon. It is a sword that adds 1 point, that is an attack multiplier by 1.25. It is the only sword actually in the game, with the exception of the Soup Ladle, which, well, technically, I was going to say raises, so it's still the only sword. The Soup Ladle lowers your attack to 0.25, but the Claremont is the only sword in the game that raises your attack to 1.25. So it's a pretty good sword to have on. So you talk to Pin here after you get out of that boss fight, and then you're going to roll back the way you came, actually. Usually the game wants you to go down that drop-down floor, however it saves just like a few seconds to, instead of doing that, go through this path backwards. So you should do that. And I guess it's a good time to mention just some credits, that the route I'm going through right now is kind of devised of a combination of things. Mainly a runner named Symphonian. I was taking a lot of time to route this game, and in that time, a runner named Symphonian, who we call Symph, was doing runs a lot quicker than other people, and we had very similar routes. So, well, I was kind of routing for a while. Symph was the first one to get a very good route documented, and I did alter his route a bit, and he altered mine a bit, so I'd like to take route credits, but Symph was the first one to document it, so I really have to give a big shout-outs to him for routing it. But now you're in the castle. Now you're in the castle outskirts, and you just want to go to the right as much as you can here. There's a lot of things you can do in the castle outskirts, but the main path to go to continue is just straight to the right. So you're gonna keep going. Make sure you heal. These enemies do a lot of damage for some reason, which is annoying because they're tiny and their blade isn't even that normally shaped, which makes you think they wouldn't be powerful as heck, but they are. And then you get into this mini-boss. Pretty easy mini-boss, actually. As you can see, dies very quickly. However, there are 2 of them here, so you're gonna have to wait a little bit for the second one to spawn after you kill the first one. There he is. You won't have to use your second blood incense. These things last for a long time, actually. But just be warned. After that fight, you can get another sword. This is the Brunhilde, and the Brunhilde is extremely useful in the run because of its aerial attack, which we'll get into later in the run when I start using it. But for now, I'm going to stick with the Claremont being equipped. Pin gives you an extra healing essence, so now you have a 6th heal, which is incredibly useful. You're going to go down as soon as you see Pin and hit this save point. And you're going to move to the left after going up. That room right there has corners to it, so the top left is where you come in from, and then there's paths to each other corner. I didn't want to do that, but the game really wanted me to do that while parry jumping. The top right path is the most important one to go because it is the path with the royal key on it. It's just right down here. You get the key for the area, so, you know, now I can actually navigate through the area. And that's a pretty good thing to be able to do. 2 of the 4 bulbs that you need to hit to get rid of the mist here, and that's our mission, is to get rid of the mist so that we can actually enter the arena with the Witch Deity Sayora. So you're going to move through here. You're going to break that flower. It's a decent chunk of XP that's just, like, not even a second to get, so I recommend taking it because you're going to be vastly underleveled during the course of this run, so taking any extra, like, free XP you can get is pretty good. You're going to move through here now, though, and the importance of moving through here is that the second one of these 4 bulbs is on this path. So you kind of need to. Otherwise, you can't progress through the game. I'm going to take another heal here. I've actually been doing pretty good on damage in this part of the game. Usually I struggle a lot more than I am right now. So yeah, now you make it back into here. If you want to take the safety save before going bottom right, you can. I usually don't, but I always take the safety save before going to the bottom left, because this is going to be like a fight arena that has 3 enemy waves in a row, and sometimes I take damage when I don't want to. So, and with some of these enemies just dealing way too much damage for no reason, so here, you're going to pass by those enemies, but this one's going to try and come into the arena. You can actually kill them through the wall while these 2 are spawning, so I'd recommend doing that, because they will get in the arena and get in your way otherwise. It's not like they will avoid the arena once you're in there. And then you can deal with those 2 knights, and then you get into the last of the 3 arenas in this area. That kills you. Okay, so you know what I said about healing and how it's very good? Yeah, enemies in this game do way too much damage. That was over half my health bar by a single enemy. So please play it safe in this part of the run. Otherwise, you'll have to redo this whole set of arenas over again, and it's miserable. But now I don't have much to do except sit through this arena for the second time. Okay, that's a new one. Yeah, as you can see, though, that one attack from that enemy did 223, which is a ridiculous amount of damage, considering my healing item currently heals, like, 120. So if you don't play it safe, you can easily die at, like, any moment in this fight. But once you get through the 3rd arena, you're free to just break the bulb there and move on to the last of the 4. At this point, I'd recommend switching your sword that's equipped over to the Brunhilde and using that for a little while. And there is a little fork in the road where you do have to jump. You finally save your game here. You're done with the arenas. So now you're going to go on this upper path here for the last of the 4 bulbs. And it's pretty important that you get through here without taking much damage. And if you need to, you can heal. Because you can opt not to save, and that actually saves some time here. So there's this here. And now you're going to drop down here, and at this point you want to go straight to the right into the Sayora Arena. However, if you're not very confident about doing what you have to do next without a save point, you can just run to the left for a little bit and make it to the save point. However, yeah, that part drops you off here, so if you want to just go for it, you can just keep rolling to the right. So, I'm actually going to go back to the left for a little bit so I can explain a glitch that's going to be a major part of this run from this point forward, and it is called Incense hovering. So, as you see here with the Brunhilde, every time I use the attack, the aerial attack, I gain a little bit of height. It's possible if I use an Incense in the air to do the attack again without landing. And as you see here, if I time it right, I can actually gain height this way. This is why the white Incense is good to have, because its animation is very quick, and you can use 10 of it in one restore. So what you want to do is you're going to move over to the Sayora Arena. And at this point, you want to use 3 white incenses to get on top of this block. Then you want to stay near the ceiling here and navigate over the trigger for the Sayora boss fight, and you're now in the Royal Castle of Remisia. This is major because usually in this game, once you defeat Sayora, you get poisoned by Pin and sent to the Mercy Cellar, have to go through the entire Mercy Cellar to escape into the back of the Cathedral, go through the entirety of the Cathedral and the outskirts again with harder enemies and a very challenging mini-boss in the garden. And then you can enter the Royal Castle. So that saves a bunch of time, and it leaves you very under-leveled. If you don't want to do this, there is a no major glitches category which bans incense hovering. However, for any percent, you're just going to keep going. You're going to go up this way. And yeah, your goal right now is to get up in the castle because you need a specific item. You need the Wood Saint. So just like that, you can get up here. And there's a save point here, which is useful because, again, you're very under-leveled, so it's very easy to die in this part of the game. Once you get into this area, you just want to hold left and do an aerial attack there, and you can grab the Wood Saint and roll out without that enemy ever hitting you. And then in this room, there are these flowers in here. You can get 300 XP for free in this room. I definitely recommend taking that, as that is a lot of XP, and that can be good for damage and possibly survivability from enemies as the run goes on. And then you get to this room, and your next goal is going to be to pick up the Warp Slash, which is just right down here. And then you're going to have to get out of this pit without the uppercut. That's something you may have noticed, that we didn't get the uppercut. But now at this point, the Warp Slash is actually going to be the fastest way to move throughout the game. Instead of rolling, you're just going to spam double parry button in midair, and you'll dash forwards. From my counting of it, or from my timing of Warp Slashing, for approximately every 6 seconds of rolling you'd save a second by dash slashing instead. So this adds up a lot throughout the last 2 areas of the game. Even though it technically is skippable, it's slower to skip than to get. But now you want to get back to the bottom of the castle the way you got to the top, which is just down here. And right before this elevator lands, you want to use your blood incense because you're going to get into a battle arena pretty soon as you step in here. It's not worth it to go in the menu and re-equip your Claremont, despite the fact that these enemies are pretty powerful, because you are strong enough with the Blood Incense and the Brunhilde to still defeat these enemies pretty quickly. Just be careful of your health, because they do a lot of damage, and move on. You move to the library here, which is a completely safe screen. And you go into here. You place the Wood Saint on this pedestal, unless you're me and can't interact with the right object, and then you get a cutscene with Amelia and Poem. And you're going to continue to move through the castle. In this room, there's a save point. I'd recommend taking it. And here, if you fall off of these platforms, just wait for this platform to be like vertical, and then you can jump through it. I'll demonstrate that again. Just like that, so you don't have to worry about doing that room perfectly. Once you get across here, if the thingy ever moves, you can use an Incense hover to get across that gap without the uppercut, and then you get into here. And once you get through here, you're going to make it to the first boss you fight since Sayora Skip. So you're going to be very under-leveled, and it's going to be very easy to mess this fight up. So I'd recommend, if you want, taking the save point. You do want to get your Claremont back on for the save point for this upcoming fight, because it deals more damage. Once you grab the Royal Remains here, you're going to want to line yourself up with the background thingy to the right of the pillar that you just grabbed the remains off of. Use the Blood Incense before the witch lands, and then do 4 melee combos as soon as the witch lands, and then you roll to the right. And now, the thing is, she's going to turn before she telegraphs her attacks, so instead of waiting for the telegraph to see what she's going to do there, as soon as you see her turn around, you want to just roll behind her, and you will avoid yourself of taking any damage. Unfortunately, I ended up holding a direction by accident and contact damaging right into her, which is a problem that you can have if you're just not careful. So I definitely recommend not holding a direction until you're about to roll. You do need to hold the direction to roll, unless you want to try and parry all of her moves, which, I mean, if that works for you, I'm not stopping you. But eventually what she'll do is she'll kind of have this stagger-like looking thing happen to her. It looks like that. And once she does that, now in intervals, these projectiles, these red skull-looking things, will fall from the ceiling. You don't want to get hit by them, because they can be kind of hard to see at times, so you have to be very attentive as to where they are. Otherwise, you can lose your Flawless right at the end. And they don't kill you. But the boss item from the Witch of Lust is very good, and you do want it. So you do have to be very careful. Otherwise, yeah, you won't get it. But once you get used to the intervals of the falling skulls and just dodging around her, that's not the hardest fight in the world. And you will pick up the Blood Crescent Incense and defeat the Witch of Lust. You're going to want to equip that thing ASAP. It is an insanely useful essence. Make sure you don't equip it over your Frigid Incense, because the Frigid Incense is still okay for some damage. Although it's not quite as good. Most of these damn bosses in the later part of the run actually kind of have a little bit of a resistance toward it, so it does less damage to them than some other bosses that you faced earlier in the run. It's also a good idea to get your Brunhilde out. I forgot to do that, but get your Brunhilde out when you equip your Blood Crescent Incense. Because we're at a point where we're platforming again, so we're going to need to do some hovering to make up for not having uppercut slash. Also, these enemies can very easily poison you, so definitely watch your health. Here, I like to go up here and do this screen like that. Very easy way to do the screen. And then you're going to go up here. And get up this ladder. And then you're going to reach this save point. What you want to do on this save point is get your Claremont out and save with your Blood Incense ready, because you're about to get into the fight with the Witch Deity Perishi. Perishi is very dangerous. The strategy you do here is you just kind of hug up against him. And if he does a physical attack, you need to roll. What makes Perishi dangerous is sometimes before he does an attack, what he'll do is he'll do this really weird, like, stall where he bows his head down a little bit, and you can't tell what he's gonna do, although it looks like a telegraph. So you see it there, he was open for a little while, but I still waited before he did his attack. Also something to note, if he goes for double slash and then without much hesitation decides to go for another double slash, he's going to go for a stomp on his second slash of his second double slash instead of actually doing 2 double slashes in a row. And the timing for those are different, so be real careful. Other than that, though, just, like, make sure that you're attentive, and this fight is actually not too much of a struggle at all. As you see, yeah, I got it. There we go. Perfect! And that gives you the Calming Sea Incense, which is an item that will let you tank 2 hits on the final boss. So that's extremely useful. Once you get into this part, you're going to want to re-equip your Brunhilde, actually, because you will need to do more hovering in the final section before the final boss. If you need to take the save point that's going to be right down here, you can, because if you mess up your hovering and lose all your incense and can't get back to the save point, you will have to reload, unless you can find a way out. But again, safety's a very good thing in this game. But you can make it through without all 10 incense, so it's not like it's tough or like it's tight. It's actually pretty easy. Re-equip your Claremont, get your Calming Sea Incense on top of your white incense, and with that, you're all good to get into the final boss fight against Poem. Use your Blood Incense right before going in. And immediately, you'll get into the fight with Poem, and you'll realize that actually the first phase against Poem is not that difficult to fight. As long as you can see what direction she's facing, it's all about reading her body language to know what attack she's about to do, and not to run into it like that. Not that hard. I'm an idiot. Of course, yeah, if you're not careful or read her attacks incorrectly, it can be a problem. But she has some attacks that let you wail on her for a while, like especially this opening attack. And once she does this attack, once you see her go in the air, just go to the side of the screen until she lands on the ground and do a warp slash into her. The good thing about Poem is that she has no physical attacks, so, like, all of her attacks are actually telegraphed. Because if there's bosses that suck, it's bosses with physical attacks. Now, once you get done with Princess Poem, you want to use your second Blood Incense and your first Calming Sea Incense. If you want, you can technically use your Calming Sea Incenses for Princess Poem. However, I much recommend saving as much of them as possible for Snake Witch Poem. Snake Witch is much harder, and I'm going to kind of deploy my Devoir strategy on her, which is, you know, if you see the sword move, run. Because she has a lot of instances where she can move her sword, as you see, without much warning, and it moves very fast across the screen, so it can, like, catch up to you if you don't run away quickly. So, in fact, the strategy isn't as much run away from Poem as it is straight up just try and stay away from her until after her attack is finished, because she could hit you with, like, again, little to no forewarning, which I'm not a fan of, but I mean, hey, this fight's still fun. Okay, that was just a me problem. As you can see, even, like, this game can be rough even if you do know what you're doing, so you should play it carefully. I'm playing it not carefully enough for my skill level right now, and that's what's causing what's happening to happen. If you can't see her body language, but you see her, like, do that, like, little explosion that signals an attack's about to happen, the best thing I can, like, suggest for you to do is, very simply, just run away and see if she ends up doing circles or not. But with that, like, Princess Poem Phase 1 isn't difficult most of the time. It really is Snake Witch that adds all the challenge to this fight at all. And if she doesn't do sword attacks constantly, it's actually pretty easy to get some pretty good hits on her. With a lot of time to spare. And even this fight's not too difficult. As you can see, eventually, she'll fall down and you'll win. So, now in the run, and as you see here, even funnier, if you use your second blood incense in between the two phases, you still get the damageless item. So now, on the leaderboards, there's a category split here. For every category, you can choose whether you want the Saint ending or the Heretic ending, where you betray the Nundum. As soon as you hit As You Wish Your Majesty, that's when time will finish for the Saint ending. However, since there is more content in the Heretic ending, I'm going to be showing that off in the tutorial just to cover that. So you hit I Refuse, and hit I Refuse again, and then you skip the cutscene. You use your blood incense immediately, get over to her, and just start mashing. And time is when you deal the last hit to her, which is right there. And that is a brief, not amazing, but hopefully helpful rundown of the Minoria Any percent speedrun route. And hopefully, yeah, this will help you with being able to complete the run easier and quicker than previously. I'm not going to let the credits play out because they take too long. Shout out to Camphor, by the way. She's not in the run. She's not in the route, but yeah, thank you for sitting through this tutorial, and I hope it helped.